Everyone, DisturbedShadow here, bringing you yet another album review for an album that came out 10 years ago. And today we're going to be talking about another album that was released on August 31st, 2014. I mean, that turns 10 on August 31st, 2014, which was just yesterday. So today we're going to be talking about the fourth album from the groove metal band Lamb of God. And just, wow, this album absolutely blew me away. This is actually the first time I've listened to it in its entirety. I've listened to a few songs here and there, and obviously I've seen them perform some of these songs live because I've seen them live twice, but to now go back and listen to this album in its entirety for the first time, and it absolutely blew me away, and I realized what I've been missing by not checking out this album, which many fans profess to be the best Lamb of God album, and now I really see why they think that, because all the way through this album is just keeps pulling me in and then blowing me away with doing something completely unexpected. And sorry, and it just, like I said, it blew me away time and time again. So let's go in and talk about some of my personal favorite tracks on this album, which is actually most of them. There's just so much different cool stuff happening in each song that really keeps this album interesting. So first, let's talk about the opening of the album, which is the lead-off single, "Les Terrestres," which is just a brutal way to open this album, and it really introduces you into what this album is like all the way through. It starts off with this really heavy riff, and it has this cool lead riff on it with this cool effect on it that is really interesting sounding. And then it's just really fast and heavy, in-your-face song, and it really encapsulates what Lamb of God is doing on this album. And Randy's vocals on this song are just fantastic. And interesting fact that this song supposedly, I read that this song supposedly tells the first-person narrative of a murder victim who is haunting his killer, which I think is an interesting stuff. Like I've seen a lot of comments on like the video and stuff that say, "Oh, this song's about suicide" or something like that. But no, it is, according to Wikipedia, Lamb of God says that it's about the first-person narrative of a murder victim, which I think is an interesting approach to writing a song. It's an interesting story to tell with a song. Track number 2, "Hourglass." This is another really good song that really encapsulates what this album is doing. It's fast and has some cool, catchy riffs in it. And what I like about this is that it doesn't really follow any particular song structure, and it's constantly changing throughout the song. And then it's sort of, I don't really know what the lyrics are supposed to be talking about, but they're really cool, and the way that the specific words that are chosen in this song work really well to, I don't know, they just sound cool together. Anyway, like I said, there were a lot of cool riffs on the song that pull you into the song. Anyway, track number 3 is my personal favorite song on this album, and my personal favorite Lamb of God song, which is "Now You've Got Something to Die For," which is really captures the lyrical themes of this album, because this album is very much a reactionary album to the Iraq War, which had just recently broken out at the time they started recording this. And this song is really delivering that message about being against what the war was, like lyrically. It really delivers their thoughts on it and how they thought it was just a corrupt move and stuff like that. And I thought that was interesting that they took that route with this song and really drive that point home throughout the entire album, that they were against this war. And time again in different songs that it reflects on this. And this song is probably the one that most truly encapsulates their vision on what the war was, and I think that's really cool that they put that out there on this album. And this song just comes together so perfectly. The way the riffs just pull you in right from the beginning, and then those heavy like drums that Chris is doing are just insane on this song. Like I said, it's my personal favorite Lamb of God song for all those reasons I just outlined. Track number 4, "The Faded Line." Finally, it's the first track on the album that I hadn't previously heard before. And wow, this song is just amazing. It's got these really cool melodic riffs on it and these really heavy rhythm riffs in the background. This is an absolutely killer song. Plus it has this really, really, really cool melodic solo-y part in the middle. It's not really a solo, but there's this cool guitar melody with this kind of cool sounding guitar effect on it that really made me go, wow, this song is different than what I was expecting, and it's really cool, and I definitely recommend this song. Track number 5, "Omertà," which is another song I've previously heard before, which is it's the slowest song on the album. The riffs are slowed down and chuggy and heavy, and the drums are a bit more pulled back and simplified, and it's just a slow, chugging, in-your-face, heavy song. It's just absolutely crushing. Plus, it has really cool lyrical themes. It's talking about the Mafia's code of honor, known as Omertà, which is a really cool thing they did on this, and that's a cool little bit of knowledge that they expanded upon on this song, and I think it's a cool, very cool lyrically that they did that. Anyway, track number 6, Blood of the Scribe. This is another song that's fast, heavy. It's got these really powerful rhythm riffs, and then it's got some really cool lead riffs on top of that are really interesting, and it pulled me into the song. I was just like, wow, this is a really cool song. And like on this first half of the album, which just concludes with Blood of the Scribe, I think the bass really didn't jump out to me that much. I mean, it was here, and I could hear it, and it was loud, and it was definitely heavying up the songs, but it wasn't doing anything interesting. But then I came to the second half of the album, starting with track number 7, One Gun, and the bass just blew me away for the rest of this album, especially on this song. There's just so much cool stuff with the bass on this. I noticed it right from the beginning. The bass is heavy and doing really interesting stuff. But then at the end of the song, it's just this really massive, heavy bass just drops on you, and you're just like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I really was not expecting the bass to do that, and John Campbell did an amazing job with it on that, and I just couldn't help but listen to this part over and over and over, and my jaw dropped when I first heard this part, and I was like, wow. Plus, the song also is the first guitar solo that appears on the album, and they don't really do guitar solos that much, especially on their older stuff, but on this album, I mean, on this track, that solo just jumped out at me. It was just really well put together, and Morton did an amazing job on that solo. He definitely deserves props for what he did there. Anyway, track number 8, Break You, which is another really heavy number. Oh, sorry, my phone's being stupid. Okay, back into it. Track number 8, Break You, is another heavy number. It's got these really cool, just heavy rhythm riffs that pulled me right into the song right from the beginning. And then it's got the cool technical drumming from Chris, and it just... There's not much to say about this song other than it's really cool, and you should definitely check this one out. Track number 9, What I've Become. This is another song with the solo, and then right when the solo comes in, the rhythm guitars just get this really heavy, repetitive chugging riff that just makes, and then the drums on top of that, they're really cool, and I couldn't help just headbang for the rest of the song after it got to that halfway mark when the solo came in, and then the rest of it is it's just so good. The rhythms just make you want to headbang over and over and over again throughout the rest of the song. I think it's a very well put together song. Now, the last 2 tracks we're coming to. Track number 10, Ashes of the Wake, which is kind of an instrumental. It starts off and ends, layered on top of the music, some quotes from soldiers who fought in the Iraq War and talking about, like, how they were killing civilians, or, like, they couldn't tell who was a civilian or who was actually, like, a civilian combatant and stuff like that. And I think the way they bookend the song with those quotes is interesting. And then, musically, this song is just absolutely amazing. There's just so many cool rhythm riffs and stuff, and then there's like a bunch of solo after solo after solo that is just really cool and well put together. And then the bass on this song is just absolutely killer, and there's just all this cool different stuff that John wasn't really doing on the other songs, where it's more there just to heavy up the song, but with a instrumental like this, he can really shine and do some cool, interesting stuff, because there are no vocals on top of it to pull away the viewer or the listener's attention. Like I said, it's a very well put together song, and it's one of the best songs. Track number 10, Ashes of the Wake, which is the title track, like I mentioned, which is also interesting that they made the title track in the instrumental. And finally, track number 11, Remorse Is for the Dead, which is another really heavy song. And what's interesting about this song, it starts with this cool sort of clean guitar intro with then a lot of bass in the background that's loud and doing some interesting stuff. And then it just gets absolutely heavy, and when the heavy rhythm guitars come in, and then Chris goes insane on the drums, and then this song, it just keeps getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And then what's interesting about the way they end the song is he lets out this one more powerful scream on the last on the last like second of the song, and the end of the song when he's done with the vocals, and they repeat it over and over and over again. Each time it's getting lower and more faded out, and it's just a cool way to end the song. And then it just ends into static right before the song ends and the album concludes, which is an interesting way to end the album. I thought it would have been interesting maybe if they ended the song with the title track, Ashes of the Wake, which was an instrumental. when I first heard that. But then I heard this song and I was just like, this is also a really cool way to end the album. And either one would have worked, but this song definitely works really well for an ending. And it closes out this album very well. So those are my thoughts on the particular tracks. So let's go on and talk about the sound of the actual band members. So first, let's talk about Mark Morton on lead guitar. Wow, he does an amazing job. There's a lot of cool melodic riffs and stuff like that. And then there's a few places where the solos come in, like One Gun and What I've Become, and of course the title track, Ashes of the Wake, which is the instrumental, which has a bunch of melodic stuff happening in it. And then both Mark Morton and Willie Adler on rhythm guitars. There's so much cool rhythm stuff happening on this album. Being a groove metal band, it's very focused on the rhythm side of things and not so much on the lead playing. And there's a lot of cool riffs throughout the whole song, through the whole album that just pull you in. Like Laid to Rest, Now You've Got Something to Die For, Omertà, What I've Become. There's just these heavy, powerful rhythm riffs that just pull you in. And then the production on the guitars is very heavy. It's very crunchy, and it's what you'd expect from a Lamb of God on the guitars, just the way it sounds. And they definitely repeat this sort of similar sound on their following albums, but this you can see where they sort of got that sound and that production quality that you hear from Lamb of God. Anyway, John Campbell on bass. Like I said, the first few songs, he's there. He's not really deviating much from the guitars. He's definitely there, and it's loud, and it is definitely serving to make the songs better by heavying them up. But then on the second half of the album, he just comes in just absolutely swinging, and he's just doing so much interesting stuff, and it's not really there to heavy it up as much as it is to just completely destroy you. Songs like One Gun with that ridiculous bass at the end, and just the Ashes of the Wake has a lot of cool technical bass stuff happening on it. So he does a good job in the beginning of the album and a fantastic job in the second half of the album. Chris Adler on drums, he is just absolutely destructive on this album. There's so much cool and interesting stuff he's doing on drums. He's definitely one of the best metal drummers out there, and it really shows on this, where he's got a very unique sound where you can hear him drumming and you'd be like, that's Chris Adler on drums. And this album really captures what he does on drums perfectly. And then the sound of the drums with that unique Lamb of God / Chris Adler sound that you hear on it, with the sort of clanky snare drums and stuff like that, that is really interesting, and you can definitely tell that that's Lamb of God, and that is Chris Adler playing that song. And he does an amazing job on this album, so gotta give him props for that. Now finally, Randy Blythe on vocals. His vocal performance on this album is amazing. He has really low, powerful screams. He's got a lot of the mid-range screams, which he does most of the time. And then every once in a while, he breaks out this really high-pitched scream, and you're just like, holy crap, how is that coming out of his voice? Out of his mouth. His voice has just got such a range on it, and it's completely captured on this album. And then, of course, his lyrical content is very interesting. A lot of the songs, like I said, it's very much a reactionary album to the Iraq War, and a lot of the songs, like Now You've Got Something to Die For, The Faded Line, One Gun, and the title track, Ashes of the Wake, really reflect that, and they are very much about the Iraq War. But, of course, he puts in some other topics, such as in Laid to Rest. Like I said, it's talking about the first-person story of someone who was murdered, and then they're haunting their killer. Or Omertà, which talks about the code of honor of the mafia and stuff like that, where they don't make it entirely about just the Iraq War, and they bring in some other interesting stuff. So Randy's lyrics are fantastic throughout this album, and his vocals are fantastic on this album. So that wraps up my review of this album. So let's go in and just do some closing thoughts. Having come into this for the first time, I can't believe that I missed this album, and it's just such a good album, and I will definitely pick this up at some point, because this album just completely blew me away. And this album is like the perfect Lamb of God album. I know I don't do ratings, but if I still did, this would be a 10 out of 10, because this album is just absolutely amazing. And if you haven't heard this album, go listen to it right now. Just stop everything and go take a listen, because it is amazing. Anyway, that's it for the review. Be sure to give it a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more of these reviews because I'm trying to do them a lot more frequently than I have been in the past. So be sure to subscribe to just check them out and see what other ones I've done in the past. So see you guys in the next review.